Welcome back to Ringside. Now then, that Lennox Lewis interview. Lennox is in London at the moment, making a video to sell himself to prospective sponsors. Lewis, of course, is off the back of that impressive win over Tyrell Biggs, which you may have seen on Sky Movies Plus at the end of last month. Video is entitled "A Man on a Mission," that mission to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Well, Lennox met the press this week in really relaxed mood. Ian Darke was there too.
Lennox, let me ask you, first of all, that was a very big and important win you had over Tyrell Biggs. What was the reaction to that, and what's have things been like for you since then, in terms of reaction from the fans and the people generally, both in Britain and the States?
Well, I find after the fight, the big thing was, you know, a lot of Americans were coming up and saying, "Who is this Lennox Lewis? He's good. You know, why haven't we heard of him before?" And, you know, that felt really good to hear them really behind me. And even when I came back to England, I find that a lot of people are, you know, just starting to notice and starting to realize that, you know, Lennox Lewis is the real thing.
Just outline for us, what exactly now is the game plan in terms of fights coming up?
Well, I've got a fight in February, and against a top-ranked American. Then after that, I come back to England in March and hopefully box Derek Sweet D. Williams. And then after that, we're going to be looking at a title shot with Evander Holyfield.
You mentioned the next fight in February. That is another big show in the United States. Some big names being mentioned there as possible opponents, like Tim Witherspoon.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Witherspoon is an opponent that we're looking at right now, and we're discussing it.
Who do you fancy of the names being mentioned? And everybody seems to be a little bit secretive about it.
Well, you know, I'll fight anybody that's there, but it's a matter of are they willing to fight me? And that's what the hold-up right now is, getting the opponents and asking them if they're willing to fight me.
What everyone in Britain wants to know, of course, and loads of people keep asking me this, is when is he going to fight Frank Bruno?
Well, when Frank Bruno's ready to fight me. Right now, he just had a good win, and he said he needs a couple more fights, so I feel he's going to make that decision after his couple more fights.
But that is a big money fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big money fight. You know, it's a fight that the people want and that the people will come out for.
Does Bruno's big punch give you any cause for concern at all, just thinking ahead to that fight, if it does come off?
Definitely. I mean, you got to look. He was the first guy that hurt Tyson, and I'm going to be definitely looking out for that punch.
Talking about Tyson, he could come in the picture as well, and of course you used to spar with him, didn't you? Tell us about those sessions.
Yeah, well, he was looking for sparring at the time. I was looking at sparring at the time because I was going to the World Junior Games in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and we heard about this guy, he needed sparring. So we went up to the Catskills, and, you know, I met him. He seemed like a quiet guy, and we went in the ring. All of a sudden, the bell rang, and he just ran at me, just throwing punches. And at that time, I had my dancer style, and I just started dancing and jabbing, keeping him away from him. And it was quite good. It was exciting. I think we both learned a lot.
You weren't intimidated at all?
Boy, he is an intimidating force at the time. We were both young at the time, but, you know, I got over that.
Of course, if he stays out of jail, you never know. It could be Tyson against Lennox Lewis in your big world heavyweight title shot.
And you know the funny thing about that is a thing that his old trainer used to say, Customato, which was with him at the time, and said that we will meet. So I want to see if that is going to be possible.
Let me put one thing to you, and this is something else that people keep coming up to me and mentioning. They say, now, is this Lennox Lewis Canadian or English? What is the definitive answer on this?
You got your knickers in a twist?
So you drifted there into your old West Ham accent?
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say to the fans who doubt whether you're really a British fighter? What would be your answer to them?
Well...
Come on, convince them.
Convince them? What, do you want me to speak Cockney? See, most of my Cockney phrases, I just speak it to my brother and friends, but, you know, when I'm speaking to the public, I just speak normally. It comes out once in a while, if you know what I mean.
You sound a bit like Frank Bruno, then.
Yeah.
So when you win the World Heavyweight title, and I'm not allowed to say if to you, I know, you'll be doing it for Britain.
I will be doing it for Britain, and as soon as I win it, I'm going to come over to Britain, and then whoever wants to challenge me for it will have to come over to Britain to try and take it away.
Okay, Lennox, good talking to you again.
Thank you, Ian.
Cheers.
All right.
Now, I sense there was a bit of should have been me about your icy stare at that interview.
Yes, well, you know the funny, what makes me laugh, yeah? My career went to 35 fights without defeat, 32 of them by knockout, yeah? The only person to beat me was Lennox Lewis, yeah? And so I was ranked 4th. I was world ranked for years, yeah? And Lennox has beaten me, and still yet people doubt whether Lennox has the ability to become world champion. When Ian asked him whether he thinks about Frank's punch, he doesn't care about Frank's punch that much because he fought somebody that could punch. After Lennox beat me, that made him a great fighter because he beat someone that he knew was good. And then anybody else, because I would have been as good as any of the top fighters there is now, even now, yeah? And if he's beaten me, none of the rest of them are a threat.
So that needles you that you never really got the credit you feel you should have had during your career?
No, that definitely does. That really does give me the ump. And then the other thing is, I think Lennox and Lennox's people should stop trying to sell Lennox to the British public as someone that is, in fact, British. Lennox Lewis was born here, yeah? And he grew up in Canada. Now Lennox Lewis has come back and he wants to box from Britain. Don't try and force him onto the public and try and make him another Frank Bruno. Let Lennox go about his job and do his stuff. The people will get behind him. They will get behind him. But if you keep trying to force something onto people, they will reject it.
If he wins the world title, they'll be right behind him.
Well, that's right. He can just keep going the way he's going. He doesn't have to talk Cockney. He doesn't have to do all the British things. He just has to be Lennox Lewis. And as soon as the people stop trying to sell him to the public will accept him more.
Two things that I think we learned there, that he is prepared to fight Frank, if Frank wants it.
Well, listen...
And that he will fight for the world title.
I believe he'll fight for the world title, and he may well win it if it's not Tyson. The only one I think that will give him the real problem is Tyson. But all the others, he has a 50-50 chance of winning the title.
All right, Harold Graham, another British fighter who should have a world title. He's done everything bar win it, hasn't he? He wants a crack at Chris Eubank or Nigel Benn after his comeback this week against John Ashton.
Yeah, well, he's been blown out. He's been we've been having all these middleweight battles, and they've all been earning plenty of money. And Harold Graham, who supposedly I believe may be the best, he's been there. He's been sitting in the background.
Well, Eubank doesn't fancy him. Neither does Ben.
Yeah. No, listen. I don't know if Ben don't fancy him. It might not make sense for Ben at the moment because Ben's got Eubank in the offing. But Eubank has always said, "No, I ain't going to fight Harold Graham." Not that he's frightened of being beaten by him, but he knows he's a good fighter. So why put him why involve him when he could fight others that he's got a chance of beating?
Well, that makes sense. OK.